Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, we're all about the Technic arms. So these are the parts that have the holes and some intricate detail in them. And I think there's 5 or 6 different versions in the model, as you can see here rotating on screen now. So we go pretty slow through the first one, but then the subsequent files, you can see how we can modify the original to then save us a lot of time when we're doing the second, third, and fourth version of the very similar part. Let's jump into it.
All right, let's model. So this one will be on the top plane, and I'll get some calipers. Now we know from experience that these are typically 9 point something apart, or 8, 7.8, I think it'll be. So we're going to start with the outside shape, and we're going to start from the origin and go sideways and just draw a slot. So this is using the slot tool, and we're using a straight slot which has starting point, ending point, diameter. Now we'll dimension it. We're going to dimension using the outer dimensions that we can measure. So we're going to measure this, for instance, the width, 7.2, and the length, still quite that, it's going to be a little bit more, 39.2 or 0.4. So 7.2, but divide that by 2 because it's a radius. And then for here, we hold shift, click to get the outside diameter, and it's just 39.4. We can always change those dimensions like that. Okay, so we've done the outside shape. We can now do 5 holes as well. So each of these holes, to measure the inside, we're going to use the top part of the calipers, and I'm going to go inside the middle hole, push it out, and I can see that hole is about 4.8 millimeters, which is pretty consistent with everything else we do. We're going to do the hole on the origin, type in the dimension, and then in this example, we've got 5 holes. So we're going to select that one, do a linear sketch pattern, change the number to 5. I'm going to increase the dimensions, but I'm not going to put the spacing in. I'm not going to add tick this box here. We're just going to press the tick. That leaves them underdefined, but they are patterned. So as I drag this line out, they're going to all move together. And what I can do is drag this 5th one onto this center point. And now it's fully defined. Okay, so the next step on this part, we're going to extrude it up. So I'm going to measure that height. That height is 7.8 millimeters. So I'm going to hit E for extrude on my shortcuts and go up to 7.8, press OK. And there is the base of our part. Now at this point, it's a good idea to save. So I'm just going to find the name of that file. It's here. This one here, I'll get the name from this. Save. I'm trying to use a consistent naming convention for all my parts. Next detail we're going to do on the part, we will do now that thin lip feature. And so let's see if this works. All right, some camera issues. Please pardon me while I'm playing with getting the cameras right for this tutorial. All right, we'll stick with that. That looks pretty good. Now, so that indent detail. So that's what I'm talking about here. And step down. Now that's pretty hard to model, or pretty hard to measure. Sorry, it's so small. What we can do is measure the diameter at least. And it kind of looks like the width, going this way horizontally is almost the same as the depth. So we might consider it that way. Now we know that the diameter when we measure these was 4.8. If I measure the top outer circle, I'm getting about 6.2. So that is a 1.4 mil difference. Now how that looks in our model, it's a few different ways of doing it. I'm going to show maybe the easiest way. And in the easiest way, we actually do not need to create a new sketch at all. We can use this existing sketch. I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to select the sketch. I'm going to do a feature, extrude cut. I just have to change some selections. So I go to select the contours. I delete that sketch from that selection. I'm going to select each of these edges. All right, so I'm selecting the 5 circles, not the outside contour. And then I'm going to change it to a thin feature. And what did we say? That the diameter went from 4.8 to 6.2, which is 1.4 mil difference, which means this needs to go to 0.7. And then if we have the depth as the same, 0.7, we reverse the direction, and that's going to go cut upwards. And there is our cut detail, trying to match. Now it looks pretty good. I'm reasonably happy. What we can do is check. We'll put this into our assembly here and just flip it over. But just temporarily, I'm going to fix that in place. And why don't I grab one of these parts and see how it fits? Circular mate and then a coincident mate. And that looks pretty good, right? I've got this size as 6 and this as 6.2, just a tiny bit of clearance. As for the depth, from this face to this face, 0.7. From this face to this face, 1.1. So maybe it needs to be a little bit deeper, because when we put another one of these on the other side, let's put it here, let's flip it around. If we get that face to be on this face here, we can see that there's a gap between them, which shows me either the dimension of this part is too big or our cut is too small. What's more likely when we're measuring? Out of these two, which am I able to measure more accurately? The depth of that cut or the width of this section here? This one I can get a reasonably accurate measurement on. So I'm more confident in that being right than this. So I should change this. So if I edit this part, I edit that depth 0.7 to 0.9, update my assembly. Did that do the right thing? I'm not sure it did. No, wrong dimension. Depth 0.9. Once I press refresh on my assembly, rebuild, it moves those together and now there's no gap. Perfect, right? Exactly what we want. So I'm going to come back over here to this part with that updated detail and now mirror it to the other face. To do that, we need to put a plane in between the faces, or probably what's better is to change our boss extrude to be mid-plane. This will have another effect, but we will fix that in a second. And that effect is that this cut has all of a sudden gone to the middle. So I'm going to edit this cut and change it, the starting point to go from this face. Now, having done that, don't think we can now mirror, but there'll be other ways of doing the same thing. If I try to mirror, I'm going to get the preview, but I think it's going to say it cannot find the face or plane. Oh, it's giving me an error. If I say what's wrong, some features disjoint cannot be created. Basically, when we use this extrude cut, because we're selecting this face, when we're mirroring, it's a different face. It can't mirror the whole feature. So that's a problem now. If I edit this and I change it to geometry pattern, that works. So it focuses on the geometry rather than worrying about the face that you're selecting. That's a nice little handy trick. All right, so not too much more to this panel. Now we're at this point. Now we're going to focus on the little detail, this little cut that's in between. To do the cut, I'm going to go on the top plane. I'm going to use this top face. And what we're going to do here is try and measure the thickness of one of those offset sections. So I'm going to measure from one edge inside to outside, and I'm getting a dimension that's pretty close to 0.5 millimeter. Some arrows popping out. Okay. I suppose you're referring to these arrows. These are triggered by Instant 3D. So Instant 3D, you can see on my command manager at the top here. Instant 3D lets you drag handles and dimensions and geometry to dynamically modify features, which means when I click on a feature, let's just click on this boss extrude, I can see all the dimensions in the sketch that creates that feature, as well as the feature thickness itself, which is 7.8. And what I can do is click and drag to make it thicker rather than inputting a dimension. No, the contingent arrow, if I put the cursor on the cut extrude, these arrows in the feature tree, I've only used these more recently. And those arrows are showing the parent features and the child features. And if I right click at the top of my feature tree, I can see in the shortcut bar here, there's dynamic reference visualization parent and the same for child. And what that lets you do is very quickly see any child features and any parent features driving the current selected feature. Yeah. So I'll see if I've got another example for you. Let's look at this one. So this part, there's quite a few more features. If I click on this boss extrude here, you can see what's driving this one is the origin is boss extrude 1 and the shell. Now, what this lets you do is if you're reordering or changing any features in your tree, it means I can drag this feature up to the point of where the next parent feature is. In this case, the shell is right here. I can't drag this feature above that shell. It's not going to work. The shell, meanwhile, I could drag all the way back up to the top. It's probably going to have an impact on the geometry, but I can do it if I want to. So back onto this detail. On the top face, I'm going to do a new sketch, and I'm going to do an offset, but I want to first convert everything that was in the original sketch. Actually, that's not going to do it for me. I want to offset. I'm going to offset two different ways, right? So from the outside face, it's got a different thickness. That's 1 millimeter from the outside edge. So from this face, I'm going to go offset 1 millimeter. Right, that's one sketch. And then I'm also going to, because I want to do these ones all at the one time, I'm going to convert these edges. I'm going to select them all and go offset entities and change this to 0.5 and make this construction geometry the base geometry for construction. What this has done is create like a number of different contours. Now you'll notice I do not use shaded sketch contours. But if I turn that on, you can see that there's multiple contours here. Let's leave that on for a little bit while we're working so you guys can understand. I'm now going to do a cut extrude. And because there's so many contours, I need to select which ones I'm going to use. And I'm going to use these sections in between. And then I just have to work out the depth. Now, we know that there's a wall that goes all the way through the middle for those sections. So the cut's not going all the way through. Let's assume that that middle wall is the same thickness as these outer walls, which is about 1 millimeter. So when I cut down, I want to cut down offset from the top surface, which is here. And then I make my offset 0.5 of a millimeter. That means when I mirror to the other side, it's going to have a consistent thickness through the middle, right? So we've done that first cut extrude there. Once again, I'm going to use top plane and I'm going to build a mirror. Now that may have caused an error. No, that one's worked. Okay. So my section view, let's just change that. Okay. We can see that we've kept this wall through the middle. So we've got a consistent thickness. Now I've got no way of measuring that. It's too small to get in there. So I'm just going to make an assumption. Perhaps it could be a bit thicker, could be more like this wall thickness, which is 1.2, in which case change this cut extrude to 0.6 off the face. All right, that part's looking pretty good. We just now need to add these really small radiuses that you can see everywhere. Once again, too small to measure, but I can estimate. I can estimate those just by eye. I suggest we do that for the mirror so I can halve my time. I'm not going to do it in sketch contour because that would involve editing the sketch heavily. So I'm going to do it here as a feature. I'm going to make it 0.3 of a millimeter. I'm going to, can be difficult with this sort of view and this sort of edge to find it. That works okay. I'm going to use the selection toolbar, just hover over that, go to the right, and that's going to get all connected to end to internal loops, 15 edges. You can see that's all of my edges in one selection. So very quick. I don't need to go through one by one. Press OK. And if we have a look at that view, how does that look against the sample we've got here? It's probably pretty close. Maybe these are a little bit bigger. Easy. So I just grabbed this fillet. I only got one dimension to change. 0.5, probably too big. Maybe it's 0.4. All right. That looks much better. Let's roll down our mirror, and I'm going to edit our mirror to include our fillet. That is done. And that part is now looking really, really neat. I don't know if there's much more we need to add. There may very well be a very small radius on that outside edge, but I don't know if that's one I should put in. Yeah, let's put in something really tiny. Put our 2 millimeter radius, 0.2. No, don't like it. Don't like it. 0.1, that's good. Don't need it. No, take it off. Done. Part is finished. We're going to save. We need to update the color. It should be dark bluish gray. What we can do is have a look at the variations that we've got to do. This part, we've now got 4 other variations to make, which are these 4 here. Let's do the big L shape first because there's some very clear similarities in those two. Yep, you can see that coming around there. So we'll do that one and then move on to the shorter L. So we open up that file and let's see the break link parts here. This is the L-shaped one. We get the name. We're going to save it as a copy. So go save as, copy and open. And we're going to change the name. So new number. Now it's green. We'll get rid of that. So Technic lift arm, 95 dent thick L shape. green. Keep the original open. And this is our new green one. Now, you haven't seen it last week. Bright green. It's going to be that color. We want to update the color. I'm going to update it here in the part. I click on this eyedropper. I'm going to drag that all the way over to the side of my screen. Select the green. Press OK. Done. Happy with that. All right, so let's modify this one now to get this L shape. So we've already got basics. What we can do, there's a few different ways we could do this. We could modify the original sketch and all the subsequent sketches. I think we will go with that approach, which means we'll go through one by one and update these. And then hopefully we don't have to update much for the mirrors, because really what we're doing is just adding on 2 extra slots on this side. I'm going to move the roll bar up. So this is how we're going to do it, because when you move the roll bar up, it just means you only need to deal with one error at a time. This can be a little bit easier to manage, particularly for learning. I'm going to come in and edit this sketch. At this point, I'm going to decide which end I want to put the additional slots. I'm going to put it on at the orientation you can see I've got on screen. So I'm going to grab another slot tool. Now it's going to create overlapping contours, but I'm not too fussed about that because of the way we're modeling this. And I'm going to measure the length, which is 23.2. I'm going to put that dimension in. Now, if this works out, what we should find is that the distance between these circles is the same when I go up this way. Now, seeing that dimension right there, 8.05, makes me think that this is 0.2 millimeters off. That's better. All right. I remember from our last Lego project, we did a lot of mucking around with the spacing of holes, and we ended up having an 8 mil spacing. So that I'm much more comfortable with that. We're going to select this hole here on the bottom right. I'm going to do a linear sketch pattern, but I'm going to use the Y-axis. Press OK. And then like I did the first time, I'm going to grab this top one, move it to that center point, and now it's fully defined. So now I press OK. I'm expecting an error in the feature. This, because I've added more contours in the sketch, I now need to update feature. I can't do that here. I need to exit the sketch and rebuild anyway. Now I go into my boss extrude. I have to select new contours. 3 clicks, done. Very easy, right? Like that, super fast. So much easier than doing anything else. Now, when I come roll down one, again, I've got another error for this feature. If we edit the feature, we're going to see what's wrong. It's lost the face, all right? Because we changed the contours in the first sketch. The whole body is completely different. Well, not the body, the whole the references, like the face geometry is different. So we just got to select this face again to get a new selection. Press OK. Good. And now we're going to edit that feature because we're going to select these additional holes so that they're included as well. All right? Because we can see it's going to have all the same hole detail as the original part. Now, if we've done that correctly, if I roll down on the mirror, that should work without issue. And we can see that there. That has updated. Now, the cut extrude is going to have some errors because the offset was based on the outside sketch of the original one. That's now changed, hasn't it? We no longer have that kind of slot all the way around. So I'm going to have to select that, delete it. Also, a couple of those edges have lost their references. So I'm going to delete that one and that one. May as well delete all of these and do this one again. Right, so the outside edge, we're going to go select tangency, offset, 1 millimeter, reverse. That one's done. Then we're going to convert all of these edges, convert, and then I'm going to offset those. Now, might have been easier to do them all at once, or I reverse that. No, reverse. If I select them all first in one big box, that might have made it easier. But all right, so we've done our contours, and I'm going to press OK, exit. We're going to update. First, I'm going to update my sketch plane. That's got an error. It's missing its face. And then I'm going to update the feature itself. And I need to select the new contours to cut, same as we did last time. There's a tricky one there. Now, that's going to change. That's probably going to cause me some issues later when I try and fill it. We'll deal with that then. Press OK. And let's just save quickly. Head. How do you decide when to use multi-body parts versus assemblies? It depends on what the assembly is going to be, how much complexity goes into part design. If it's something simple, and it's just a couple of parts, then I might design it all as multi-body and then split it out to an assembly later. If it's going to be very complicated, let's use an example of one of these Lego assemblies where there's 50 parts, 100 parts. I'd definitely prefer to do the one by one or split them into more easy to control and manipulate sections. If you try and build everything, all detail in one multi-body file, the file will become unmanageable. So a lot of it is around working on the limitations of the software as well. Let's work on these fillets, and we're going to reselect these edges. I'm going to get as many of those as I can and press OK. Now that's all good except for this one. This one needs to change, but I'm going to do that in a slightly different way. So if we have a look at that detail just here, now you can see that there's basically a wall section in between, whereas in my CAD model at the moment, there's a gap. I just need to close that gap. I'm going to close it with a boss extrude. So I'm going to roll down my mirror. So I've got this on both sides. And then to fill that gap, I'm going to show you a little bit of a sneaky trick to use the geometry we've already created. So first up, construction line. Second, another construction line. Third, convert this edge. Fourth, mirror that edge. Fifth, mirror this edge. Sixth, change the first one to for construction. Lastly, convert these edges. And then I'm going to hit E for extrude. I'm going to, it wants me to select thin feature. I don't want to do that. See if I can avoid it. Yeah, I've selected that contour. I'm going to uncheck thin feature. I'm going to change up to surface the outside. And there we go. We've got the geometry we need. Consistency. Save the part. That's another one done. Now there's a black version and the yellow version of this part. The yellow one's slightly shorter. The black one we're going to just save straight away. So we'll go save as. First we'll put it in the assembly. Put the grey one in, and then we're going to go File, Save As, save a copy and open, and find the details for the black version, which is here 32526. Same number. It is same number, just different color. It's fine. Save as copy. Black, and we're going to keep the original open, going to change this color to a black color and insert that one into the assembly as well. All right, I'll close the black, go back to the green, and now I can make the yellow version. The yellow version is slightly different again.
Hey guys, just want to interrupt for 30 seconds. If you're watching at this point, you're obviously taking your SolidWorks training pretty seriously. I'd really like to recommend my one and only paid course, which is currently on Udemy. It's called SolidWorks for Designers, Foundations to CSWA, and that's going to give you all the basics you need to achieve that certificate level and move on further with your SolidWorks training. I go through each of the features listed on the CSWA exam one by one. I also cover elements such as design intent. There's some example projects thrown in, as well as other resources to help you with your learning. The course is really fresh. I only released it earlier in 2025. If you'd like to give it a go, please follow the links in the description. Thanks. We'll get back to the content now.
And now I can make the yellow version. The yellow version is slightly different again. We can see. Let's find the number for it. Our name and number here. Save as, copy and open. Go into the yellow one. What's our yellow color? Let's go to the assembly. We can copy and paste. All right. Now, once again, we're going to modify the geometry without starting again. We're just going to work out what we need to change bit by bit. Now, let's edit the sketch, and first up, the number of holes reduces to 4. I'm going to change that to 4. These holes, number of those instances changes to 2. See, that's actually lost its reference. That's okay. I'm going to delete that one. I'm going to then reduce this length. I think it's going to come down by 8. So 31.2 for that part. Let's see. Yep, pretty happy with that. I just moved that circle ever so slightly to reduce it. This dimension is going to come down by 8. This circle is going to join up over here and it's going to be the same size as this one. I'm going to add this detail now. I'm going to add it now. It's got a little through section as well where the wall's too thin. Let's add it later. Let's go accept that. I want to get this thin feature done. Now look at that. Because we only removed geometry. We didn't add anything new. This one just rolled down. We didn't even have to change anything. So that first one, very good. What about the next one? That's got some issues. That's okay. We will fix those. We're going to edit the sketch. We're going to delete the ones we don't need. That's out here. Delete. This one, we're just going to make the same size as this. It's okay. We're going to update our feature to change the contours that it's selected. So 1, 2, 3. That's all we need to select. Now, before we do the fillet, that's where I'm going to cut or change this hole. And this hole is going to be a consistent detail. And one thing I have noticed, because it's got the cross in it, it actually does not use this cut here. So I want to delete that contour from this feature. There we go. Now that gives me an error for this hole, but I can remove that one and I can just make this and this equal. Okay, so the plus shape. The plus shape is something we've done quite a few times. Going to convert the edge. Going to draw a wall like this, make that equal, put a 0.2 millimeter radius on the inside. I'm going to use a right plane to mirror. I'm going to and then try that again. I'm going to do a circular pattern. Move that to the origin and then add a dimension, which has been 1.8 or 1.9. Let's have a look. I'm going to zoom in. That's one on the zone. Camera. Oh dear. You get in there. Just get the measurement 1.8 or 1.9, leave it at 1.8, and I'm going to extrude. I'm going to select these sections, and I'm going to go all the way to this side. Now that's created our plus shape, our cross shape, but we need to cut that and the cut between the two. And we can see in this example as well, it goes all the way through. So we got to do that in one step. We're going to do that here on the top plane. We're going to convert those edges. We're going to convert this edge and draw in 2 more lines, trim this, then do an extruded cut. It goes all the way through. That removes that. And then we're ready to do the fillets. Now, if you roll down, I'm going to have some errors on these fillets. It's missing some edges, just missing one edge here, and it's missing 2 edges over here. Looking great. I can roll down on the mirror. Now, what's wrong with the mirror? Doesn't like this. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Cut extrude 1. Fillet 1. Let's try it again with those 2. Going to mirror geometry pattern. All right, definitely doesn't like this. That cut 1, 2. We might have to move the mirror. That's some trouble we're getting here. This gives me the result, but I'm getting the error we don't want. In which case, let's just remove the fillet and I'll just do separate fillets. Doesn't really take that long. As we can see, it's only really one selection. You get all the edges. I'll remove these edges, which I don't want. That looks really good. And then we're ready for that last little detail again. Let's see if that rolls down. You can see all the faces have moved. So I just need to go through that process again. Put this back where it belongs. Remove all of that. Convert this. Put this construction line in. Mirror that section. Mirror this section. Convert that edge. Press OK. Edit. Oh, contour. It's selected that contour. Beautiful. Done. I think that's everything on this part. That was very quick. Save and drop it into the assembly. We are making some really good progress. We're going to roll right back to the first extrude and we're going to delete the additional contour. Delete that, move that circle so it's on the right point. Press OK. That feature is all right because all we did was delete stuff. It's quick and easy. The next cut extrude, similar thing, okay? Only deleting, so it's just adding detail. It's just removing what we've already removed. Nothing additional to do. That's okay. These cuts. Now, these cuts are different. Let's fix this. Because in this example here, we do not need any of this detail. We do want this edge to just continue. That's fine. Press OK. There's still some errors in that sketch. It's not visible, but we may be able to find it, or it might just be this whole chain. So what we'll do is select the whole chain, offset 1 millimeter, reverse, OK, and OK, and then update the contours that we're using. 1, 2, 3, OK, that's better. We'll use that boss extrude again. We'll use this cut again. The mirror, we're mirroring that first cut, the fillets. Now we lost a lot of those references because we redid some of those cuts. So we're just going to put all those back in. Now that's the majority, except we do not want these ones. So I'm just going to manually deselect these. And okay, yep. Right, so that detail, all good. We do not need this last boss extrude, so I'm going to delete that. And now we can mirror or even do a circular pattern. Now, what I can notice looking at this part is, I believe it's not. I thought maybe it was a 45-degree angle, but it's not. But it's definitely not. So what is it? How do we measure it? Well, we could probably measure it like this. How high is it? A flat. That will help us get the angle. So I'm going to use my calipers. The top face is all the way down, and that's close to 18 millimeters. How does that help us? Well, I can go on the top plate here, and I can draw. Let me draw this. Convert that construction line here. I'm going to mirror through that chain around the construction line. Now see how it's underdefined? That's fine. That's good. So what I can do is do a construction line from this one to this one. Put the mirror. The mirror is going to be on that midpoint. And then I can go from here to here and make that 18. And that shows me the exact angle that I need. It's geometry, right? Flat line across there. What's the distance from here to here? Now, the whole point of this is to work out my angles, because now I can do a pattern that is 126.5 degrees. So I'm going to do a circular pattern. This is the axis. Maybe not that line. This might, not the line. This face. It's going to be this body. We said 126.5. Here you go. Minus. Can't do that. I have to press the other direction. Press OK. Hide the sketch and combine the two bodies together. There we go. Super easy. Another one done. Let's save that. Put it in our assembly. And we are flying through these ones. We've got 2 left to go. 2 small yellow ones. And these are both straight. And they're both similar to this. They've got that detail in the end. So we'll use this version. And we'll create the longer one first. And then the shorter one. So the longer one, yeah, save a copy and open. All right. Now, very, very similar in detail. Doesn't have the L shape on the end. Does have the little cut in between. Does have everything else. It's just a much thinner part. The thickness is 4 or 3.8, 3.9, 3.9. I think. So let's roll right back and start from here. We're going to delete this, and we have, this is 5 holes, which means the length goes back out plus 8, and this number of holes goes back up to 5. It's not coincident there. It's going to be here, okay, and change this feature to 3.9. Yep, half of what it was. Now, going to have to, I was going to say we're going to have to update these contours, but we don't. They're already there, just the middle 3, because the one on the end, its 4th one, is new. Don't have to worry about it. Mirrored feature. Done. Next part, this central detail. We need to update some of our sketches here. Let's delete that and delete that. We're going to put a circle on the ends. I'm going to select chain for that and offset 1 millimeter. That'll give us our contours. We now have to update those contour selections. 2, 3, 4. All right. That's quick. Then we're going to fill in that hole. What we'll do on this example here is mirror. So I'm going to mirror entities. I'm going to select all of that and mirror to the right, and then update the contours that I'm selecting so we get the detail on both sides in the same feature. That's going to do a cut. The cut it wants to do is here. Just need to update some references. I'm going to do a similar thing. I'm going to mirror once again. It's okay. Exit. And then select my contours through all. Now here I'm just mirroring those cuts. Then I'm going to update my fillets. So clear all those edges. I'm going to select basically every edge connected. It's going to take a little bit to get them right. That's all right. All right, so I've got them all there. I do have to deselect a couple, but it is still quicker. Always trying to work out the most efficient way, whether it's by adding on selections or removing selections. Speaking this example, this is the quickest way. There's probably a box selection trick you could use as well. All right, so those are all done, and that's it. No other detail to do. That part is done. Drop that into the assembly, and we're going to save a copy of that for our next one. copied one is 6632, and that's a 1x3. 6632 and 1x3. All right, so in this example, we're just reducing a few things, aren't we? We're reducing a couple of holes. We are reducing a length. All right, so a couple of simple changes to the sketch geometry. That's done. For my cuts here, I only want to use middle contour, so that's very quick. Then we've got that same plus detail both sides. Here I have to get rid of some obsolete details. Let's get those to equal. I'm going to have to update that extrude cut, reselect my regions, update my boss extrude. In this case, the features of everything can stay. I just need to change where this pattern is happening from and move it to the middle one here, and everything updates. That's very quick. Fancy. Go through, hold cut. There. Now this needs to get updated. Once again, I need to update the mirror position. With that done, I then need to update the contour selection, update the mirror. Now, what's the mirror used for here? It's not used for anything. I'm going to delete it. It was the fillets. The fillets are 0.4. Try that again. Delete. Advance. Yes. Fillets. Press OK because I just want to keep the fillets that I already have. That is done. And then I'm going to insert into the assembly. Insert 1x3. And look, we are making awesome progress now. Hey, thanks for watching all the way to the end. Really appreciate that. This has been the LEGO Build and Learn series by Fully Defined. If the next video has been released, it'll be on the top link to your right. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe, and leave a comment below with what you'd like to see next. Your feedback is what motivates me to provide more content. See you in the next one.